I have a young lady here. She is going to give us some information about her career, the things that she does, and the things that she does, she actually loves to do. And I want to tell you this here, one little segment here. If you're into acting and modeling, or maybe even both, this is going to be the interview for you. So get your pen and the paper, get your phone out with your little app that you can take your notes, because this is going to be one that you're going to probably want to jot some notes down and rewind. So if you haven't already, hit the like button so you can actually save this and come back to it. So the next voice you're going to hear is going to be from my guest I have today. It's on you.
Hello there. Hi, guys. My name's Lyndsey Coleman, and I started acting when I was about 13 years old. I started out in theater, and my very first production I ever did, I was just a kid. I was about 8 years old, and we did Peter Pan, and which was a stage play. And I'm from a really small town, so there was
Okay.
about there was um, about 30 people in the play, and I had one line, and I was so nervous. But when it was over, I decided, that was pretty cool. I would like to do that. I would, I got a lot out of it. I would really like to do that again. And so that brings us to when I was about in the seventh grade.
Mhm.
And I did play with my youth group. And I thought that it was really cool when I did the audition, and I played a mannequin. And yeah, I played a mannequin. So during the production, I was very still because being a mannequin, of course, you you don't exist as a living being. You are just there playing portraying like a piece of plastic. So I read for the role, and I didn't have a name. It was just a series of letters, and I didn't realize that once the audition was over and I had been cast, that I had a starring role. And so I didn't realize that until after I'd gotten the script and I was going through and highlighting everything and realized I have a lot of lines. This is a lot of lines.
Okay.
Uh, why do I have so many lines? I don't understand. I have more than anyone. And then I got to the first practice or rehearsal, we call it, and I was like, you know, I have a lot of lines. Why? Well, it's you and this other role, and I was starring opposite the director's son, who actually went on to do some amazing things in New York,
Mm.
theatrically. And she said, yeah, you're one of the main characters. And so the day of the play rolled around, and I looked. We'd had several rehearsals, and I looked out from backstage, and since it was a church show, we did it in the largest room of the church, which was the sanctuary, of course. And so I peered out of backstage, and I told the director, her name was Cindy. I said, "That's a lot of people," and she goes, "Yeah, well, we'll do it several times, and tonight's opening night, so." Typically, opening night has the biggest crowd, and I said, and she said, "Well, it's time to, take the stage." And I said, and she said, "It's time. Yeah, you're gonna go out there and you're gonna line up, and then they're gonna cut the lights on stage." And I was adamant that she had the wrong person. and this I had was just going to have to change my mind on this.
Yeah.
And she opened the door from stage left and shoved me out, and literally shoved me. So there I am, and then the lights come up, and as soon as I had a couple lines, I was fine. It was fine, but just getting started, it was really difficult because I was so nervous. But just like it is with everything else, once you actually get out there and once the lights come up and you deliver your first lines, it kind of the nerves kind of melt away, and then you remember that, okay, we rehearsed and rehearsed, and I really can do this. So that was cool
Okay.
because it was my very first big production, and I was celebrating the fact that I had a really big role instead of being so scared and having so much anxiety. It just kind of melted away once I actually had my first few lines.
Okay. So did that experience obviously it springboarded your career so far, but did that experience? Do you feel like that was unique, or do you feel like that happens a lot with, I guess, first time actors, no matter if you're a small town or a big city?
No, that's absolutely not unique. That happens to everyone. As soon as you get out there and as soon as you have the lights hit you and you deliver your lines, I uh, that's something that happens to maybe not every single case, but most cases when you first have that happen. And
Okay.
even years later, when I would do a production, because I did theater all through college as well,
Okay.
and yeah, and it's just something that you deal with when you have that initial experience
Okay.
of
Okay.
being on stage, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is about to happen. But once the lights hit you and all that, you get into character and the nerves just kind of melt away.
Okay. Okay. Well, I got a question since you talked about your first role and first character, like but your character obviously was a big role. Of course, this is podcast is called Based Off Character.
Hmm.
So, what is your favorite character that you portrayed?
So when I was going to Bethel University,
Okay.
that's located in McKenzie, Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
I was attending college there on a theater scholarship,
Mm.
and we had Renaissance theater, and we did several shows, and it was a scholarship. So I was a part of every show that we did. But I had an opportunity to do a student produced show,
Mm-hmm.
and this was called Screw Tape.
Okay.
So C.S. Lewis wrote it, and it was a large role, and it was the role of Slum Trimpet, which was a demon.
Mm.
So there I am at college, and I'm doing the audition, and I realized that this is it's another large role, and I'm realizing that I'm at a private school, uh, and I was portraying a demon, and
Mm.
I was really nervous because it was down to me for the role and another lady, and I was just, sure that she was going to get it because her audition was great. I mean, she really just kind of knocked it out of the park. But
Okay.
was able to secure the role. I was able to book the role, and I um I booked it, and then the reason that it was my favorite was because it was just so much fun. I was able to really get outside myself, and you know, um, despite the fact that I'm playing a demon,
Mhm.
it was done very tastefully, and I got to really kind of think outside the box and just have fun with the role. And you hear stories about Jack Nicholson, and stay with me. I'm not comparing myself to Jack Nicholson, but
Okay, you fine.
he goes crazy quite a bit on set, and directors have been known to say that they need to reel him back in and say to him, this is not larger than life. That you're portraying someone that really does exist. And
Okay,
so kind of took that during rehearsal, and I would just kind of think outside the box and be kind of crazy and think, well, if I go too big, the director, she'll, rein me back in.
right.
And sometimes I do crazy things and expect her to correct me after the scene was over, but she never did. She always really liked the way that I did things, and she would bounce ideas off of me, and she just made it a really safe space for me to be able to be creative and be able to have a really good time on stage. And for me, that's a lot of what acting is just being able to just have fun on stage and portray someone that you're not. And after the role is over, you won't ever be that person again.
Okay,
So I kind of essentially kind of left it all on stage, and she was nothing but supportive. So for those reasons, that's my favorite role I ever portrayed, a demon.
a demon. So all the roles that you portrayed in your career, a demon is your number one. Okay. Well, I can understand everybody has their own character that they love, and obviously that's yours. But I do have this question for you.
Just because I got to think outside of the box and
Yeah, yeah.
do crazy things, because it's not just because I was playing a demon. I didn't take anyone's life, or um, I didn't possess anyone, or anything like that. It's my favorite because I got to think outside the box, and I wasn't playing a human being. I was playing a different kind of entity, and
Okay.
it wasn't something that I was ever going to get the opportunity to do again. So just thinking outside the box and portraying someone that wasn't human was a lot of fun. Plus, since it was at a school, it was still PG rated, so
Okay.
it wasn't too crazy.
No, understood. Completely understand that. So that leads me into my next question for you here. Is there a character or maybe even an actor or actress that you love to see them, on the silver screen? And tell me about either that character or that actual, actor.
Okay. So there's this man named Ben Mendelsohn, and he's been in several productions. He was in The Place Beyond the Pines.
Okay.
He was in Bloodlines. He's been in several films, and well, Bloodlines is technically a series, but he is, I believe, Australian nationally. That's his nationality. And so he, of course, has this amazing accent, but he's got a lot of my respect because he has such range.
Okay.
He has played a little bit of everything, the lead, the villain, a bit part. He's just been cast as several different roles, and he always knocks it out of the park. His mannerisms are great. His accent is great. The way that he comes across on film, he's very self-aware, and I'm not sure what kind of training that he's had, but he does a really good job. And I actually went to see a film yesterday in theaters,
Hmm.
and I left the theater thinking one of the characters should have been given to him, because it
Hmm.
would have been such a different production with him in it, because he just adds so many layers. And you're sure at the end of every film and every production that he or I have been able to see him in,
Hmm.
you're just sure that he doesn't really exist in real life, but in fact he is that person. He is what you're watching, and he was put on this earth to be in that production, and he doesn't exist outside of that. He's a figment of your imagination, and he is really in what you're watching. He's the only character in the film or the TV show or series or whatever that you're watching that is really in that series, and everybody else is just hired, and they're just an actor. But that's really who he is. He lives in that space. You would just
Okay.
you would just swear to it that there's no way that the director calls cut and he walks off stage and goes home. He doesn't have a home. He lives in the production. He can't possibly be a real human being. He's too good. He has to really legitimately live in the production that you're watching. He can't be a real person. He's that good, and he is very inspiring because his process is I would love to know his process. He's amazing, and he's been on the scene maybe 15 years, 10, 15 years. The Place Beyond the Pines was the first thing that I've ever seen him in, and just his mannerisms, his accent, just everything. I can't name one n- nuance of his performance in anything that he should do anything different. It's just
So,
perfect. He's just perfect.
so this,
I'm a
I
big
mean,
fan.
I'm looking at, well, I'm looking at his credentials here, and you're basically saying he doesn't have any duds. Like he is a consistent, good actor that has several different layers and has played several different roles, and he seems to excel at all of them. Is that what I'm getting from you? Because that's what I feel like I'm hearing from you here.
Yes.
And see, this is the reason why I wanted you on here because people act sometimes people act like their favorite characters. So in order for them to be good, they think, oh, I need to act just like them. And so they end up mimicking a certain person. But what you're telling me here is with this man, he uses all his layers to be able to portray the character, not mimic one and try to be the same character, just knowing the lines for all the other roles. So that's something. The versatility of this man is something for anybody to be able to take and use in their own acting, endeavors. And I appreciate you basically breaking that down for me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, he
Okay.
is amazing.
Okay. So, question for you: how do you get into your mental space when you're acting? So you get a role, you're saying, "Okay, this is what I need to do." Like, okay, these are the lines here. Here are my sides. So, how do you get into your character in your role, into your roles?
Um, Everybody shush, stop talking to me.
Okay.
Get away from conversations that are going on. And if you can, if I can't physically be in a room by myself, then everybody has to stop talking so I can get the illusion mentally of being by myself. Because for me, my creativity is just all imagination, and
Okay.
I gotta create that for myself. And I just need quiet. I can be in the room with 100 people, but you can't be talking to me because I'm going to be listening. Um, and preferably, there's just not a whole lot going on. I just need quiet because I gotta get in my mind what's going on.
Okay. Okay. All right. So let me throw this scenario out here. There's a young girl, maybe she's 12 years old. She comes to one of your plays, productions, or whatever, and she grabs you by the hand. She pulls you to the side and says, Miss Coleman, I would love to do what you do one day. How do I, do that? So what would you tell that young girl?
Well, first, I would say I would ask why. I would ask
Mm,
why she wants to do it because the advice is different
mm,
depending on what you're looking for, depending on how you're looking at it. But if you're just period wanting to do it, then you typically can't be persuaded not to. So I would say look for opportunities in your area.
mm.
Just like with anything else in life, you have to start where you are.
Okay.
So look for productions, plays going on, look for background work if you're in a city, if you're fortunate enough to be somewhere where a lot of stuff happens, then reach out to, there are Facebook groups, there are casting agencies, casting companies get started doing background work. When you show up to an audition or when you show up to work, don't have your phone out. No one on set should know what your phone looks like. No one on set should know
Mm,
um, what your background is on your phone or your phone case. No one should have that information except you because no one should see it.
okay.
You have to be very, very. You have to show up on time. You have to act like you take it seriously because if you don't, then it will show. And decide early on if you love it or not because it can be a really challenging and a really difficult thing to do, but it's worth it if you love it. And if you want to get started, just start where you are. Just start wherever you're located, and just look for opportunities that are close by, no matter how small. If it's background, then it's background. But always take it seriously and treat every rehearsal and every practice like it is really the real thing because perfect practice makes perfect.
Okay. Okay. Well, let me ask you this question here, and then you tell the young lady why you want to do this. So, great intro into my next question. So, the modeling side, why do you want to get, or why did you decide to get into the modeling side as well?
Okay, so that is a very good question. When I first started and first got into the industry professionally, I got modeling work because modeling is also acting. And the reason I say that is because it's still storytelling. and anyone can put makeup on, anyone can do their hair, and anyone can look pretty, but the best models are understanding of the craft. So, just for example, the last shoot that I did was with Lifeway a couple weeks ago, and the director came up to me about mid shoot, and she said, these pictures are great. You're doing a really good job. And she asked me if I had uh, done what we were doing and the posing that I was doing. She asked if I had done that before. And I said, well, I have, but also I'm a professional and I'm good at my job. I'm good at the craft. And what I meant by that was whenever you're in front of a camera, you have to really fully commit. And because I had been acting for a while, modeling just kind of came easy for me because you still have to commit. It's about committing. So if you're posing for a picture, or as is was the case that day, we were doing print, and you just completely commit. So if you're you know if you're hired to be an actor, then you commit to it, and if you're hired to be a model, then you're committing to it. So my understanding of acting really played a big role in me doing my job that day. So if you are looking to get into modeling, then whenever you get the opportunity, whenever you get booked, just whatever you're supposed to be portraying, just commit 100%. Just maybe do an acting workshop, or maybe watch YouTube and just kind of get inside the mind of a professional. And because modeling is acting, it's all storytelling, and that is uniform across all mediums, not just one.
Okay. So that leads into my next question, and great points that you made out there. I'm really listening, observing, and listening, and trying to you picture what you're talking about, and I like that. So I want this is something that came up in our creative circles that of people that I talk to. It's about online presence. So, you know, one of the questions, which was the biggest one, was what does your social media say about you? So, for acting or for modeling, what they're saying is it should gear to your niche. So, for do you feel like that's an accurate answer to that question? Like what you're doing online should have some kind of presence to what you're doing, you know, in your career.
Okay, so I love that question because it's has so much relevance in today's profession. So I'm going to give you an answer. I'm going to give you two answers. So the first answer is that social media has a huge bearing on what you're doing. So no matter if you sell insurance,
Mhm.
no matter if you're going into acting, no matter if you're a pastor at a church, whenever someone wants to know you and know all about you, they Google you. And if if you have a social media, which most people do, then they're going to go to social media and look for you. They want to see you. They want to see you in your natural environment. They want to see you in your habitat. They want to see what you're all about. And you have direct control over that. So really take that domain seriously. However, when I started studying acting years and years ago, I was studying people that did it before social media was a thing. And I came across information that led me to believe that when you are specifically an actor, now a model or someone in entertainment, like a singer or a writer, their approach to social media long ago um, would be different than if you're going into acting, because whenever you look at someone who is an actor's social media, you see the clothes they're wearing, you see them in different scenarios with friends and with family, and you subconsciously make snap judgments about them. The clothes that they wear, down to the colors, them with their family, and you sort of form a bond mentally and subconsciously about that person or with that person. So then when you see them on the screen, you use those snap judgments about them that you saw on their social media and photos, and you see them in the production, and you're going to be thinking about them on their social media. So it's going to automatically make you feel like you know that person. So whenever you're watching something, you have to have suspension of disbelief. And that means that when you're watching someone in something, just for acting, not any other medium, but you have to believe that that person's name is not Michael or Susan, that it's, James or Anita, and they are not someone on social media that you saw out with their family. They're
Mm-hmm.
actually someone that's homeless. They're actually someone that's the president of the United States. They're actually someone that's playing this role. And you have difficulty with suspension of disbelief because they're not the president. They're not homeless. I've seen their home on social
Right.
media. I saw their pictures and their families. This can't be. So my approach to that had to do with that because the old school individuals did not have social media, and they didn't put it out there for everyone to see because you have difficulty separating that person from the guy or the female that you see on the screen. So my approach to social media is not traditional. I favor the old school mentality of an actor should be ambiguous. An actor that's really committed to their craft should not really have a lot of social media presence because it makes that suspension of disbelief so much more challenging, and you have so much against you anyway for someone to buy what you're selling on stage or on screen anyway. Acting is so difficult and so challenging that you want people to not have ever, best case scenario, have seen your face ever before whenever they're watching something that you're in, because you have so much difficulty in seeing that character in that role if you know that, I've seen them with their three kids and they're playing someone without any. You really want to give yourself all the advantage that you can when you're acting because you've got so many marks against you already with the suspension of disbelief. It's just very, very difficult. So I only recently started posting and sharing my opportunities because that's the way that you have to be now. You have to let people know, hey, I do this. This is something that I'm looking for opportunities for. So it becomes about marketing. But the old school mentality was much different. So things change and you have to keep up with them. So if you're looking to get into the industry, definitely share, definitely post your opportunities because more opportunities can come from that. But I really struggled with putting out and posting my opportunities because I felt like I'm saying to everyone, "Oh, look at me." And I didn't feel good about that. I felt like I was just, "Oh, look at me." But it really isn't like that. You really do have to market yourself, and you really do have to let people know that you're wanting opportunities, which was a struggle because of my initial mentality. And uh, Marilyn Monroe and Cary Grant and Rock Hudson, they didn't have social media. So when you think about them and think about the artists that they were, it was so great because you had the suspension of disbelief because you never saw them in photos with their families because how vastly different your experience of them on the big screen would have been if you were picturing them on if you were picturing them in their lives, and then also that you're seeing them on the big screen. So yeah, that's how I approach social media. I know that that's kind of a strange answer, and not everyone would say that. Um, but that's just how I have approached it, and that's just kind
No,
of my take on things.
no, that's why I want you to give us, you know what I'm saying, your spiel on how you approach it, what you think about social media, and not just saying this is how you need to do it, just like this. That doesn't work for everybody. So I'm glad
Yeah.
that you was able to share that, and I appreciate that.
Hmm.
So got this for you here. Something I usually do with all my guests. I usually do like a rapid fire thing. So basically,
Okay.
I'm going to ask you a question, and you say the answer, the first thing that comes to your head. You ready for it?
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna start with a softball question here. Uh, Go-to food when you're getting ready to, you're hungry. You've been reading your script, and you like, I'm a little hungry. So, what's a go-to food for you?
Okay. So if if I have some time before the production and I don't have to be on camera right away, then I really like nachos. But
Mm,
it's so there's cheese and chips, which is full of carbs, which I usually want to avoid if I have to be on camera soon. I'm trying to slim down. So nachos, that's my go-to. It's my absolute favorite food. But if I have something coming up and I need to be a little bit more health conscientious, then it's going to be sushi.
okay. All right. Well, sushi it is. I think sushi is. I'm starting to like sushi a little more than
It's
I had.
amazing. I
Huh?
love sushi. I actually have a short story about sushi. So I was raised really old school, uh, very traditionally Southern, and we didn't eat sushi, and we didn't know what sushi was. And so the first time that I had sushi, I was out with friends, and we went to this Japanese restaurant, and I didn't know what to get. It was such a large menu, and I ordered the wrong thing. And for 5 years, I told everyone how terrible sushi was because I didn't realize that it's so, all the dishes are really, really different. And
Mm,
if you have something that is not for you and you don't care for it, then you're going to kind of cluster it all together and think, oh, sushi's bad. But years later, I went to another Japanese place and reluctantly, but I still went. Uh, and I got something that was really, really good. And from then on, I knew what to order, and I had a really good experience. So if you are someone that has had sushi once before and you don't like it, maybe you ordered the wrong thing. I think you should give it another shot.
okay. Well, I've had sushi several times. The first time I didn't like it, but then it started to grow on me, and I felt like it was a healthier snack. That's what I kind of consider it as a healthier snack. Just a small sushi roll. I haven't done any of the major stuff that people do with sushi, but those things like the smaller snacks, I like those. So I'm good with it. All right. So let's get into a little more rapid fire here. So I want to say favorite movie that you like if it comes on that you've seen several times. If it comes on TV, you got to watch. That's your favorite TV movie.
So my favorite film of all time is Jurassic Park.
Oh, really? So if it comes on TBS, I don't even know if it's TBS or whatever, you're watching it, right?
Yes, down to the credits. Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, okay. I like that one. All right. So let's go with a TV show rerun that you love.
Modern Family.
Modern Family is a cartoon, right?
So
Is it?
Modern Family is actually a show that ran for, I believe, 12 seasons. And
I
it
know.
is not animation. No, it is real people.
I know what it is now. Okay, just thought about it. I was thinking
Yeah,
about Family Guy, but okay.
yes.
All right. Um, a handsome male actor. Who is your handsome male actor?
A handsome male actor. Um, I have to go with, I mentioned him already, Ben Mendelsohn. He's so talented and therefore very attractive to me. I'm not 100% attracted to celebrities.
Okay.
Just to find someone attractive, I need to meet them in person and let our pheromones like mix, if that makes sense.
No, it
So,
does. It actually does.
um, yeah, I'm attracted to people more on an intellectual, like mental level. But if we're going just by looks, I have always had a thing for Josh Hartnett.
Hmm. Don't know him, but can you kind of make me familiar about him?
He starred in Black Hawk Down. He was also
All
in Pearl Harbor. You know who it is now?
right. I know exactly what it is now.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I've actually not thought about him um, in a long, long time. He was a crush of mine several years ago. But if I had to answer that now, I would say Ben Mendelsohn, just because I was thinking about him earlier already, and just because he's so amazing at his craft. But I'm typically not all that really drawn to and attracted to male celebrities. I don't really like that many people in the industry just because I typically don't like their attitude. They're usually kind of full of themselves. And but if we're gonna go just looks alone, yeah, I would say those two.
Okay. All right. Female model that has inspired you, either dead or alive.
Okay, I really love Naomi Campbell and Giselle Bundchen. I think they're both amazing. I think they are very good at their job. I think that they got really, really lucky. They were both discovered when they were very, very, very young. But they're both gorgeous and they both have a lot of confidence. And I really like their style and their approach to their careers.
All right. So let's get into fashion. Is there a top designer that you love?
So I'm not really big on labels. I like to think that I'm not all that materialistic. Um, but when it does come to fashion and accessories, I'm really big on Louis Vuitton. I love the classic clean lines. I love the color scheme. I think it's very down to earth while still being very, very glamorous and simple. And I have several Louis Vuitton bags, and they really do stand the test of time, and they're very, very quality. But on a day to day basis, I'm not really ever been big on materialism and, you know, a label, a labels girl. But I do like Louis Vuitton quality, and I just think it's very fresh and very, very sophisticated and really good quality. And but I'm simple. I mean, if I like it, I'll wear anything.
Okay. All right. Just a couple more questions here. So, how do you like to travel? You like to travel on boat or on plane?
Okay, that's a very good question. So I'm not 100% on um, transportation because I think it's a liability. So when it comes to boats, if it's something recreational and it's just, at the lake or out on the river, that's one thing. And that's very, very fun because if something goes wrong, you've just got a few minutes and you're back on shore. But something like a cruise, when you're out and, you'd have to have binoculars to see land, that's not something I would ever do just because transportation is so risky anyway.
Yeah.
So much can go wrong. Um, Titanic, Poseidon, it can sink, it can capsize. So boats would not be my thing. And and as far as a plane goes, I would have to say that's the front runner between that and a boat, but, it still will scare me, and just because I'm such a disaster person that my mind is always thinking about the worst case scenario, and I just give myself anxiety. It's just my imagination, just running amok. My imagination. It's got little to do with what's actually going on in reality, but my imagination doesn't care about reality. Um, it just kind of tosses it out the window, and it's like, uh, whatever's going on, I don't care. I believe this. This is going to happen. I don't care if it does or not. It's going to happen in my head. It's going to happen in my mind. It disregards reality. So if you're watching this and you have a cruise coming up, by all means, go on it. Have a great time. I wouldn't be able to just because I've heard horror stories of things that have happened on cruise ships, and it's just not for me.
Please
Yeah.
understand that. Well, here is your opportunity to ask me one question. So, what question do you have for me?
Why did you get into podcasts? What is it that interests you and makes you want to interview people, and what is your goal on every show that you host?
Okay. Question. Okay. Uh, I've had the podcast question before. I can easily answer that one, but you added something to it. Like, what is your goal, and for each and every episode? So let me see if I can put it together. I created a podcast. I started with a sports podcast. I grew up playing football, son of a football coach, and yes, and as before my dad passed away, I said to myself, I'm gonna get back into football in some kind of way. So I created a podcast on football called No Huddle Football News, and I have one since I'm in the Tennessee area. I have one for the Titans, and it has grown. You know, I was like, okay. But then I thought about this here. Now, before my mother passed away, I was writing. So I wrote a screenplay. I wrote a few short stories. I got novels on my computer right now. I just haven't published them yet. So I said, how can I connect with other people that can kind of help motivate me? And I said, well, let me go on social media. Go on social media, and I see some people. Okay, I kind of now follow all these people, and I said, hey, I'm interested. Would you like to follow my page? Just something very basic or whatever. I get no response. They probably looked at me like, who is this guy? This is maybe spam or whatever. And I said, hmm. But then I started watching a lot of YouTube channels and podcasts, listen to those. And I said to myself, I can do this. If I'm at home, I can, come up with I was just asking myself questions and answering them. I would then start doing them on video. And then I said, why can't I just create a podcast? So let's do this. Besides the football podcast, let's look at a podcast that's get around writers. And then I was thinking, my wife asked too. I was like, let me interview people who are in the business. And I told them, I have this here. This is what I'm doing. I like to interview you so you can expand your audience and I can expand mine. Pretty simple, right? People are like, oh, sure. I got a book coming out. I would like to talk about it. Oh, yeah. I would like to, people to know my story as I act and the things that I do and kind of talk about my resume because people like to talk. And then that's kind of how it started. But my
Okay.
goal is I want to network with the right people so I can get the right information so I can, expand my horizons, get my wife acting more, get my book, or books more noticed. So that's really my goal with a podcast. So I named it based off characters so people can say, oh, this is something that's geared toward not long with writers, but also who people who actually act so they can talk about things that the characters that they portray. So that's basically it.
Nice. I love that the first one was centered around football. I am actually a huge football fanatic.
Okay. Wow. So
I
you need to come on No Huddle
actually
Football News. It's a completely
broken
different
two bones
vibe.
playing.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
I've actually broken two bones playing football.
Really?
And
Well,
yeah,
all right. So definitely you gotta subscribe to the channel, and we
I,
will have a part two on
I
No
will.
Huddle Football News. It's
I
very
will.
fun. There's a lot of different interviews with NFL players, Titans. I got those people there, and I also got a Titan page, and people are very entertaining. So I would love for you to come over there. Like one of my inspirations there, and now obviously I'm a man, but have you seen or follow Football is Sexy on
No,
Instagram?
no, I haven't.
Fo-
No.
Follow that page.
Okay.
They are great. And it's ladies that run it. All ladies. And they're very cool.
Okay.
They talk there's different fans from different fan bases that are hosts on there, but I think there's one main host and it's
Okay.
very cool. So I respect her page. So
Okay.
football is sexy. I know you're not subscribed to this one, but I think you'll follow me on No Huddle Football News. So I want to
Mhm.
have Lyndsey Coleman on there. And I think you'll be a great guest on there too.
Yeah, I actually taught a little boy last month how to throw a spiral football. My friend and I went to North Carolina Beach, and it was really cool. He got it down, and he actually had the football. He actually brought it himself to the beach, and I forget what even started that, but his parents watched from the shore, and it was just a really, really cool moment for me just to see in just a half hour how he started versus how his throw really ended up by the time we got finished working together that day.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Lyndsey, you've been a great guest. You
You've been a
talked
great
about
host.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. This is fun. I like doing this. I like talking to people. It kind of brings down the anxieties and it gives me a chance to relax and I get the chance to talk to people, perfect strangers, people that
Mhm.
are strange one day, but then we interview and they were like the best friends. They're like hitting me up and like,
Yes.
okay, yeah. So like that. But again, I like you because I've been trying to get you on some things before previously and you break down the actor's role from your perspective very well, very professional. Then even your modeling, what you talk about modeling is even better because I think someone can get something from that. I don't think it's. I think sometimes people get it have a misconception because they think, oh, I can just like you said, put on makeup, sit in front of the camera, and smile. No, it's a whole. Like you said, you're telling a story with yourself. And then, your fun facts are pretty cool. I mean, I like that. You're very realistic. It's nothing like you to sit there and you had this notepad. I got it all rehearsed. He's gonna probably ask this, this, this. Let me make sure I say it right. No, you gave me a realistic uh you guys answers to the questions I asked. And that's what I ask of August. This is not something you're gonna be judged on. This is not something that you need to be scared about. This is just a conversation. And I think people can pull a gem out of anything. And that's another thing I do too. I didn't say that. I'm gonna talk about myself just a second here. So I like listening to interviews. Some of them I don't like, but I find something in an interview and then I just pull it and then I utilize it.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
that's something I do. And I've been doing that for a long period of time, way before podcasts. Like I always sit there and watch interviews on TV. It seems like some of the boringest things, but it seems like I get entertained by just listening to reporters asking other people questions and seeing how they're answering it. So that's
Hmm.
kind of my thing. Again, that's me, obviously.
Yeah.
And I had the great Lyndsey Coleman on my show to drop some gems down, and I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, this is your opportunity to shout out your people and tell people where they can find and follow you.
Okay, so Lyndsey Coleman, Lyndsey Coleman. You can find me. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, and I don't post a whole lot, but I'm getting better about posting after my opportunities because it is very important for marketing. And I already shared my take on social media. I'm kind of a private person. I don't have a whole lot out there, but there will be more to come, and I'm getting better about sharing my opportunities. So yeah, I'm definitely out there, and I look forward to um, the future.
Okay. Oh, one small question here. What's next for you?
Okay, um, so I'm in talks for a couple of projects. I can't talk about what they are just quite yet. It's kind of up in the air about production and dates, but they are coming up, and I have a soft spot for horror. So don't be surprised if they are something scary. The next projects for me. Also, I don't think you know this about me, but I also write as well. So I also have some projects that I am looking to possibly cast as well. And so I will definitely keep you posted about that. I kind of have my hand in it in a lot of stuff.
Please do. Please do. I know people in it, they're looking for roles, including my wife. So, yeah. So we always looking for stuff like that.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that.
But, but again, Miss Coleman, thank you for joining Based Off Characters. Thank you for coming in here and giving us the experience of a actor slash model. And thank you for just coming in here and just being yourself. I really appreciate that.
Okay. Thank you for having me. It was a blast and a pleasure.
All right. Well, that is based off characters, and that is the episode. This is the episode with Lyndsey Coleman, and you should shout out her social media, and definitely stay tuned for what we got coming up for based off characters in the future, and follow Lyndsey Coleman to whenever she drops something. I'm sure it's going to be good on social media, and whatever she's doing on the big screen or on the stage, it's going to be a can't miss. I'm going to tell you that right now from the bottom of my heart. Again, Lyndsey, thank you so much. This is based off characters. And until I speak to you all again, it is peace and have a good evening.